Back from the dead.
Ladies and gentlemen, the countdown has just begun. Are you ready? Let's go,
Now we're back from the dead.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. So something kind of came up today that caught my attention. I didn't hear about it over the weekend, and it kind of collaborates with another topic that I've been wanting to bring up with you guys, and I just haven't, because I really haven't had like the right opportunity to kind of chat with you, and this just happened to be the perfect time. So let's chat about this. So of course, if you are a fellow paranormal enthusiast like myself, especially if you take, it almost to a science level, we all know what Waverly Hills is. So apparently last Saturday, there was a woman and her husband, and they were on their way to go do like the little investigation tour inside of Waverly Hills. And on their way, they were in Kentucky. They decided to stop and visit the urban legend of something that is called the Pope Lick Goatman. So apparently this Goatman has resided since like the 1800s. There's been reports in an area that's not far from Louisville, Kentucky. It's actually Dayton, Kentucky. I believe it's like Jefferson County is where it's at. And there's a lot of theories behind this Goatman. So one of the theories is this is a offspring of a farmer who was having inappropriate relations with like a sheep or a goat or something like that. There's another theory behind it that it is that the farmer was involved in some sort of like satanic rituals, and during one of the sacrifices, basically this Goatman, it was a goat, and then somehow during the Satanism ritual, the devil or a demon inhabited this goat body, and making it become like a Goatman figure. The last theory that I read about it, it has something to do with there was a freak show carnival in the 1800s, and this Goatman was a part of the carnival. And while they were traveling along the railroad tracks, he either willingly jumped off to disassociate himself from the carnival, or perhaps he was kicked out of the carnival, or he just wanted to leave, and he has basically made this part of the railroad his home. So over all of the years, there's been multiple, warnings of not to go there. I guess there's been a lot of deaths behind it. And what people claim is that when you go to try to find this Goatman, some people say that he lures you with his voice, and maybe it's some sort of like a compelled state of mind where you just kind of follow the Goatman or you follow his voice. He lures you onto the railroad tracks, and then you are hit by a train, and usually there is no survivor to tell the story. The other theory is people will see the Goatman and they become so in fear that they would rather jump off of the cliff where the railroad track is onto the ground, and they end up dying because it's like 100-foot fall. There have been some people that claim that they have lived to tell about it. I've actually heard about this story from several different paranormal shows that have done cryptozoology related news reports, but the latest story actually hit with this Pope Lick Goatman April 25th, 2016, which was just last weekend. So sadly, a woman named Raquel Bain, she was 26 years old. They were going to Waverly Hills. On the way, they decided to stop and investigate this Goatman. And at some point, they were on the railroad tracks, and his wife, I guess the claim is that she tripped and fell, and she was struck by a train. The ambulance came, 911 came, and she was dead at the scene. She died immediately. So first of all, I would like to give my condolences to the friends and family of this lady and her husband. That's like horrible, horrible circumstances. And I'm so, so sorry for your loss. That's a terrible, terrible thing to happen when you were just going to do something you love, which is paranormal investigating. So I'm so sad, and I'm so sorry to her friends and family. Of course, most of the local paranormal groups that are in Kentucky have actually not blamed, a safety issue, and they've said that this is, the Pope licking Goatman, and he is at it again, and this is his most recent kill, and they're contributing this death to him. The reason she tripped and fell was maybe because she was compelled by him or his voice, or maybe she got scared and tripped and fell, and it just happened to be when a train was around and she was hit. So obviously, if you can see behind me, I have pulled up some pictures of what this Goatman is supposed to look like. To be perfectly honest, I have never been a huge fan of cryptozoology. I have a couple of reasons why. I absolutely believe that there's, things out there. I believe that any of these theories could be real. It's really hard when they have these different shows and people that actually go out to try to hunt Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster, and they come home empty-handed. They don't see any sort of video footage. They don't get a lot of evidence. I know Josh Gates on Destination America, he had actually gotten a really great imprint. I believe he was in the Himalayas, and that was like probably the biggest piece of evidence anyone's gotten of, proving the existence of Bigfoot. However, the reason I'm not a huge cryptozoology person is I'm not sure what I would physically do if I were to encounter, some sort of outer worldly being, or a Bigfoot that was, 8 feet tall and I'm 5'5". I'm just not the kind of person that is brave enough to face these kind of beings that are proclaimed to exist out in the wild in certain places. I definitely am not a hunter, so I would not feel comfortable, taking any sort of like weapon or gun with me. I would probably freeze if I was in some sort of circumstance where I interacted with something like this, which is why I tend to stay away from cryptozoology. I'm very, very terrified of the existence of cryptozoology. You can't say it doesn't exist because none of us really know. I definitely appreciate the skeptics, and I definitely appreciate the believers. I guess I'm sort of in between. I've never experienced it for myself, which is how a lot of people treat paranormal. I mean, safety is such a big issue in this industry of paranormal, cryptozoology, and, UFO contact. I'm definitely not into UFO contact either. I definitely believe aliens exist, and it's not something I'm looking for sure. I am just really sad that this happened. Whether you believe it was the Goatman or wasn't the Goatman in contributing to this young lady's death, I think it's great that there's people out there that go to look for this stuff. I think that it is great that people will take technology like night vision and thermos and try to scope out if they can find, this particular thing, which is the Goatman. But, walking along a railroad track or near a railroad track, you just have to put safety first. And I think it's great that, they were just trying to do something that they loved or enjoyed. But, you just have to be realistic when you're doing investigations. Even if they weren't really doing an investigation, they were just going to scope out the area from what it sounds like through the news reports. And, that's even, it's such a sad circumstance. You go to have fun or, be, just kind of a witness of the area, and you end up not coming home. It's very, very terrifying to me that, you have to put common sense first that has to come in. And I don't even mean just with cryptozoology. I mean anything you do in general, but definitely with cryptozoology at night or paranormal at night. And I mean this generally speaking. I'm not even talking with railroad tracks. You just have to use common sense. And I'm going to give you an example of an issue, probably the biggest issue I've had with safety so far when I was running my team when I was in Denver. So I had this guy that worked for me. He had actually originally been hired to do like editing and like help me go over evidence and stuff. But once he got involved with the team, I realized that he was kind of like a engineer. He was really good at building things, and he really understood the in and out part of the technology of EMF meters and thermo and just the technology in general of paranormal. So he started building us equipment, which I was okay with, and I told him that I had to make sure that it was actually a functioning piece of equipment before we would take it to an investigation. Because if you are dealing with engineering, you don't want anything to explode or be set on fire or anything like that. So he had built a few things. They were great. We used them. And he had seen an episode of Ghost Adventures, and I believe it was in the hospital in Utah. And it was where Zach had used the Jacob's ladder. So if you don't know what a Jacob's ladder is, it's basically this huge circuit. Usually it's like 3 to 6 feet long or tall, and you plug it into the wall. You can use a generator with it, and it basically sends this huge surge of energy all the way through these two top poles. So that when the energy rises to the top, you almost get kind of like it's like a flame / energy beam that comes up through both of the sides of the Jacob's ladder. They're actually very, very dangerous if they're not used appropriately. So this engineer that I had working for me, he was like, I'm just so excited. I'm making this huge Jacob's ladder. And I said, okay, they're very dangerous, as I just said. I just want to make sure that we test it before we go, and I don't want a fire hazard, of anything. So he's building this Jacob's ladder, and I'm like, how's it going? He's like, good. And we're creeping closer to a scheduled investigation that I had at a very old historical location in Denver. Down with me one day, and he goes, I want you to know, I built this Jacob's ladder, and I saw it. It was fairly giant. I mean, it was very large. And I was intimidated just by the size. And I said, have you tested it? And he goes, well, I want you to know that the equipment that I used to build it for the energy surge is so strong that if I plug it in, I'm afraid that it will remove all energy sources within a 3-mile radius. Excuse me? 3-mile radius? So I'm like, wait a second, are you telling me that 3 miles within wherever this thing is plugged in, it is going to be so powerful that basically it's going to cause a blackout of all the houses will be out, and the only thing that's going to run is this Jacob's ladder? And he's like, yeah, pretty much. I think that it's really going to be a great piece of technology. We're going to be able to communicate with spirits really well, because it's going to push such a giant surge through that they'll be able to manipulate it easily. And I'm like, wait a minute. No. Not going to work for me. Are you going to test this before we leave to make sure that the surge isn't so giant that it causes some spark flame and basically, wipes not only the building that we're in out, but us as people? I love investigating, don't get me wrong, but I just don't think I'm quite ready to join them on the other side, if you know what I mean. So he's like, no, I'm actually not gonna try it before we leave because I'm afraid that I'll knock the whole neighborhood out. So what do you think's gonna happen when I take you to this haunted place? It's this haunted hotel that we went to. It had 10 bedrooms, I think, and it was built in the mid 1800s. And you're telling me that you're gonna take this piece of equipment you've never used, and you're afraid that it could potentially burn the building down? And he was like, I don't think that'll happen, but I'm gonna bring a fire extinguisher just in case. You're not bringing the fire extinguisher because we're not gonna need the Jacob's ladder. In fact, it ended up leading to him quitting the company. So the long story short of this is, please put safety first, always. I don't care if you're going to hunt the Loch Ness Monster. You cannot tell me that there has been a long string of people being lured, or maybe they're not even lured. Maybe it's just a dangerous area where the railroad tracks are, you know? Like, let's play devil's advocate. Yeah, we can say that it could be cryptozoology, but we can also say it's just a really shitty area where these railroad tracks are, and maybe people just get hit because it's a blind spot. Who knows? Anyways, you have got to take the responsibility to be safe, and whatever the claims are, I don't care if it's a dead being that you're interacting with, the Loch Ness Monster, or the Goatman, you have got to act responsibly. And in this case, it is do not walk along the railroad tracks. I understand that you're wanting to experience it, you're wanting to find evidence, but this is still an active part of town where there is active railways going on. There is active trains. Do not walk on the train tracks. Don't walk near them. Maybe you can be lured. Maybe this thing doesn't even exist. I don't care. Whatever it is, obviously we know as, intelligent people to not walk on a railroad track or by it. Not even close enough to it to where if you were to trip and fall, that you accidentally got ran over by a train. It is so sad, you guys. Please act responsibly. This little girl, she's 26 years old. She lost her life. That is way, way, way too young to lose your life. And for something as silly as trying to find out, to see if this thing over here exists, it is not worth it. It is not worth it. So I am so glad that I can use this as a tool to educate you guys that safety must come first no matter what. Even for this example, who knows if that's a living being or maybe it is an entity there that can manifest. We don't know. But whatever the case is, you guys, please use common sense, act responsibly, and don't do something silly, and have your life wasted, because everyone's here for a purpose. Everybody is. And don't let your purpose go away too soon, So anyways, I'm really emotional about this topic because I don't want to see anybody else getting hurt, because I, just like this girl that passed away, love paranormal. I love this stuff. But please use her as an example to be safe, okay? Take care, guys.
We're back from the dead. Back from the dead. Back from the dead.